Welcome back to Trucking and Politics. I am parked down in Fort Worth, Texas. The lighting is really bad here. I can't get it adjusted right to where the dark shadows are not messing with the camera. So I've opted for plan B. I'm just going to put some driving footage up here for you. You saw at the start of this video a couple of guys were getting into an argument at the fuel island at a Love's. We've all experienced this as truck drivers. It is it's a weird profession that we have chosen here. Add in the current administration, Trump, and you will see that we've had a lot of changes coming about rules and regulations due to so many illegal immigrants in this country and him trying to rectify the situation. What we are left with is a situation where a lot of people are stressed out. Rates are low. A lot of people don't know what is next, what's going to happen next, how their bills are going to get paid, if their job is even going to be there. I think there's been 200 and something thousand trucking companies shut down, and it looks like more are going to be shut down with this new enforcement of CDL eligibility and validation and MC number validation is coming up very shortly. So, with that being said, temperatures are high and emotions are high, and a lot of truck drivers are getting stressed out. Add into that this boastfulness that a lot of truck drivers have. You have a situation where a spark can turn into a fire. So, I wanted to talk about this. A certain type of person that is causing a lot of problems in trucking in general. Instead of making a 3 or 4 hour video of all the problems that are in trucking, there's one specific thing that I have seen reoccur over and over and over in trucking, and that is a narcissistic personality. And I think it is overwhelming in truck driving. Narcissists do not have the ability to stand up and say, I'm wrong, I have a problem, I have an issue. It is just finger pointing and yelling, you're the problem, you're the issue. Nothing's wrong with me. Does that sound familiar from a truck driver? And that's why I say there's a direct correlation here. I ask for forgiveness all the time. I make mistakes. I mispronounce words. I stumble. A couple of months ago, I went to get out of my truck and slipped and fell out of the truck. So, do I make mistakes? Yes, and I make plenty of them. A lot of truck drivers see this as a weakness, that you're able to say, I have problems, I have faults. I was taught a long time ago, whenever I was young and in church, There is no perfect human being. There is no perfect human being. Some are better, more stabilized than others, but no one is perfect. You try to be a good person, and when you have a fault or you have an issue, you stop and you ask for forgiveness. A narcissist does not have the ability to do that. They just keep carrying on. It is always the other person's fault, which just leads to more arguments and more arguments and more arguments, and there is no end to this. So, I wanted to play this little clip, leave this with you with some driving footage here, and you can take out of it what you want to take out of it. Hopefully, it helps some people. Hopefully, you can understand the situation a little bit better. And hopefully, some of these truck drivers that are suffering from this can stop and look at themselves and think maybe they need to change a little bit. That's probably wishful thinking, but there it is. So here's the audio clip. You guys be safe, take care of yourself, look out for each other, and we will catch you on the next one.
People ask, is this something genetic? Is it environmental? I think the research is very ambiguous, but I think most people would agree that it's a learned behavior. Most people would agree that they come from the extremes of parenting. They either had a parent that was way overprotective and, carried the kid around on a satin pillow and made the child believe that they were entitled by turning them into spoiled brats. And I always say, we're not raising children, we're raising adults. And so, whatever you do with your child, that's what you're creating as an adult. So, I said the extremes of parenting. One is you've treated your child in such a way that they become a spoiled brat child, so they become a spoiled brat adult. And the other extreme of parenting, of course, is if they've been neglected or abused. And so, this is a reaction of I'm going to be so arrogant. It's kind of a get them before they get me strategy in life where they just become so self protective by being arrogant and haughty and entitled that nobody's ever going to do that to me again because I'm going to put myself above everybody so I can't be hurt. I'm going to fly above the crowd where I can't be hurt. These are theories. I'm not presenting this to you as fact. I'm telling you what psychodynamicists say when they say, look at the parents if you want to understand why somebody turns out the way they do as an adult. Now, does that make it easier for you to suffer these people or not? Maybe it does. If you are not that way and you have empathy, maybe understanding it gives you a little bit of staying power. But as I said before, I'm one of those people that thinks anybody can change. I'm the incurable optimist, but these are people that just don't have a good prognosis. There's some mental illness problems that have good prognosis, like phobias. Somebody has a phobia, anxiety, you can deal with that, and it's got a very good prognosis. Personality disorders don't have the best prognosis because in the individual's eyes, what they're doing is working for them. And so their belief is, why fix what ain't broke? A narcissist doesn't respond well in part because they don't see a problem. They think they're special. They think they're unique. They think they got it going on. They live in a fantasy world in which they are the top dog. They are the unique, entitled, special individual. So, what is there to fix? It's the rest of you that have the problem. Catch up. Get your game together. I don't have the problem. You have the problem. So, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Y'all have heard me say that. A narcissist is not going to acknowledge that they have a problem. So, why would they have a to do list? And the answer is they wouldn't. They don't. They don't have a to do list. Most personality disorders don't have a to do list because they think what they're doing is protecting them, working for them, getting them what they want. So, if you're not going to change them, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to learn to deal with them. You're going to have to learn to not allow yourself to be sucked down by these people, to not get into their ego suck hole where you just get pulled down into this dark, bottomless pit where you cannot ever do enough to make these people happy. And the first thing I want you to do is establish some boundaries and recognize it's not your job to fix them. You couldn't fix them if it was your job. And you cannot let them have the power to determine how you feel about who you are. If you give them the power to determine your self worth in a relationship, whether it's romantic or as a family member or at work, whatever the situation, if you give them the power to determine your validation, your self worth, I promise you, you're going to lose because they have to put you down in order for them to feel better. It's what I call leveling. They either have to build themselves up so they feel equal to or superior, or they have to shoot you down so they don't think you've got anything over on them. That's leveling. They can't be in a one down position ever. So they always have to, in some way, keep you from having any advantage. And if you feel good about yourself, if you are at peace with yourself, if you think you're in touch with your authentic self, if you have a good sense of self worth, a good definition of self, they can't suffer that because it gives you a sense of power and peace that they just can't endure. So they have to take that away from you. They have to tear that down. You cannot let that happen. So that's why I say you've got to set up a boundary and you cannot take the bait and you cannot be the bait. And let me tell you what I mean by that. These people are going to say things that anybody would find offensive. They're going to violate your rights. And it's not just being assertive. Assertiveness is when someone acts in a way to protect their own rights, but they do it without stepping on anyone else's rights. Aggressiveness is when people assert their rights and they trample all over someone else's rights. That's what a narcissist does. They do it by gaslighting. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, get out your fire extinguisher because you're going to get gaslit. They are going to talk to you in such a way that anything that goes wrong is your fault. And anything that they do is your fault. You're going to hear phrases, I mentioned a few of them before. I didn't say that. I'm not mad. It's not that big a deal. Why are you being so sensitive? Why are you blowing this all out of proportion? What is wrong with you? And it all keeps coming back to what's wrong with you. and they're happy to answer that question. You're too sensitive. That's the gaslighting phrases you're going to hear. And if you don't have a boundary, you're going to take that bait and start questioning yourself whether or not, well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me.